at a certain point with economic development, you got to get along. You got to kiss the ring, and you got to pay respects.
Yeah.
But you got to say, okay, what are we doing here?
Okay. All right.
Great to meet you.
Thanks, Kyle. Hi, welcome back to Mills County Roots. I'm excited to be here today with my friend Ben Washburn. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Carlene. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Nice to see you again.
Great to see you.
So, Ben, you are a real estate agent, correct?
Yes, real estate agent.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I've actually been in real estate since around 2008. Started out in central Iowa. Right after that kind of market correction or kind of the financial crisis of 2008. And then my career path took a zig and a zag, but I got back into real estate, I'd say, about 2022, 2023.
Okay.
So I got licensed in Nebraska, and I am currently with Keller Williams of Greater Omaha.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty focused on the Omaha market, but our offices cover Grand Island, Lincoln, Omaha, and then Council Bluffs in Pottawatomie County, and then down into Glenwood, Malvern, Mills County, and that sort of thing.
Okay,
too. So,
all right. Sounds
yeah.
good. Now we'll get into the zig and zag of all that later.
Yeah, that's
So-
great.
So you are very enmeshed in Mills County. So tell me about your history with Mills County.
Yes, absolutely. I love Mills County. It's always been home. I've actually lived in Denver, Colorado, and downtown Des Moines, Iowa throughout my career, but have gravitated back to the area of Mills County. So that's where I live. I commute in about 35, 45 minutes to Omaha to the office every day. But it's always been home. We settled it in the 1800s. Very fortunate to have that family farm background in Mills County. So it's on the eastern side of the county. So think Emerson, Henderson, Hastings, that kind of area, right around the Nishnabotna River, then over a couple rolling hills. But we've been very fortunate. It's great. I grew up a farm kid. I grew up going out to the Sand Hills in Nebraska, picking out 4-H cattle with the Dean family, showing them at the Mills County Fair, the Iowa State Fair, and the Exarban Stock Show in Omaha. And you get out in the world, and then you realize your childhood. And yeah, I grew up a cowboy, and it is great. Having those family farming roots and being so close to agriculture.
You have a great story, Ben, because a lot of times small towns, especially the size of Hastings,
Yeah.
and sometimes young people don't want to come back to those areas. So
Right.
It's very nice and to know that you came back and that you were drawn back to that lifestyle. And I know a lot of people move away and then they do come back sometimes,
Right.
So it's
Right.
always exciting to see the people who really love the area to come back to it, especially with your experience. I know you've been involved to some degree in some politics. You've been involved
Yep.
in financial planning and different things in your life. So you really got out there and got a lot of real life experience to bring back to the small community. Not that those small communities don't have those same experiences, but to have that diverse experience and bring it back to the area it's just enriching.
Absolutely. And to really tie that all together, Carlene, a lot of Iowa and a lot of other communities, frankly, work on what's called the brain drain. And so they're, having, people that grow up in an area, they go through their childhood and their family life, and then they go into college or the trades, and then they leave. life. And so that's kind of focused on as being noticed as the brain drain, meaning that you go out and then you don't come back to your area. But I'm finding a lot of people have located back to where their roots have started,
Right.
and it's great to see, And I mean, it's a natural thing for somebody to come up and go to college and say, "Oh, I want to get out of here," or "I want to go explore the world."
Right.
I think that's great. I'm very fortunate. I've been to Europe on pilgrimages. I studied abroad in Swansea, Wales for 6 months. So I've been over to Europe 4 times before the age of 23, and it really put perspective in my life.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
The traveler gets perspective.
Yeah.
That's for
Yeah.
sure. So yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your zig and your zag that you mentioned earlier. Okay, so
Sure.
so you were in real estate in '08, and then you left that about when?
Yeah, so I started my career in banking right out of college. It was kind of a softer market. There were a lot of kind of the historic refinance boom. The second mortgages were going on. And then that took my path into, I was managing an escrow account, and it took me into abstracting title insurance and like the sales and business development role of that industry. And that's where I really got my feet wet and cut my teeth in commercial real estate.
Okay.
And so from there, I'd say about 2010, 2011, I went to Denver, Colorado. Was with Chicago Title of Colorado, and probably 2 or 3 months in, I met a founder of a tech company in Denver, Colorado. And he's like, I've started this tech. Steve Jobs was still alive. People were on the iPhone 4, the original iPad. So it was a really different time for tech.
Sure.
And tech is intriguing. It's interesting. But this founder was like, I'm going on a private equity round, and I'm looking to raise private equity. He was looking to place $1.2 million on a $3.15 million valuation in technology to build the software, build the team, and really scale and scope the company, of which I knew nothing about: a private placement memorandum, a subscription agreement.
Do you want to say their name?
Sure, I can. They're still going today. Yeah, they are plugging. You talk about resiliency of a founder, the startup life. I mean, the grind. And I know we'll talk a little bit about another piece of that towards the end here. But the company is called Be Rewarded. It was a rebrand from a company called Freebie Cards, creative gift card concepts. And so really what it is it's incentive-based marketing. And so there's a lot of noise when you go and get rewards and loyalty cards and punch cards, and picture somebody carrying around a fat wallet with all these loyalty cards, like right? So it's kind of a one-stop shop. At the time of launch, it really competed with a company called Groupon out of Chicago. It's a very crowded space. It's a very difficult thing to undertake, but the developer of the software is a brilliant kind of Sheldon from Big Bang Theory coder. He actually built Amazon Web Services with Jeff Bezos and his team. Turned down a job at Google and is working with the founder.
Well, you've had a brush with some pretty big folks.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate in my career and my path, and I wouldn't trade anything. Lots of zigs and zags. That private equity experience was great. And the markets, I've always volunteered where I've lived.
That's right.
And so I've been very lucky in my career.
Yeah. Well, that takes us right back to the values of Mills County.
Yeah.
Because you learned that at home.
Absolutely. I would say my background, having grown up in 4-H, being involved in the Holy Rosary Catholic Church, and some pilgrimages we went on through that, Spanish club in high school, going over to Europe. I mean, that foundation of 4-H and the people that make up Mills County are really that driver. And you talk about adversity and, roadblocks that people go through in life. And, it's not always easy.
Oh, it's more than likely, it's probably more than likely uneasy than it is easy.
Yeah,
right?
right.
For all of us.
Right, but
Right.
just having that agriculture background, surviving and living through the farm crisis of the 80s, going through some floods, just all of that, like that is ingrained in you as an Iowa farm kid to say, okay, it's going to work out.
Right.
You have to have that attitude with whatever you go into. But if it doesn't, or you have roadblocks along the way, you just pick your boots up, dust off, and you keep going.
That's exactly right, and that's what you learn in that lifestyle. It is, and it's a blessing.
Yeah.
Because now in life, as you go along, every one of those experiences made you stronger and stronger.
Oh, totally.
And,
Builds character.
and that's a message for everyone. Yes,
Yeah.
builds your character, builds your resilience, and a message to anyone who might be going through a hard time.
Yeah.
That like the sun comes up tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And tomorrow's a new day, and
Yeah.
and every morning His grace is new.
Yeah, absolutely,
Right?
absolutely. I'm a man of faith, and faith's an important part. You talk about Mills County. I ended up hanging my real estate license with Keller Williams of Greater Omaha because my father, Rob, has his license and has been doing real estate for probably the better part of 10, 12, 15 years now.
Okay.
So we've kind of, I grew up doing livestock with my father and my grandfather and my brother, and now it's kind of like you can call it a family business, but it's something that, as my 18-year-old son jets off to college next year, he can always have that as a backup plan. Not that he's going to go into it, but when you have a real estate model, you've got the brokerage of it, which is very simple, Carlene. You're just connecting buyers and sellers, and then as you get into the investment part, or the more of a portfolio that can be a little more dynamic. And then my mother, Linda, was the Chamber of Commerce director and Mills County Economic Development director for the better part of about 18 to 20 years.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so it's really a family roots ingrained.
Right.
We're in the eastern part of Mills County, which a lot of times it can kind of get swallowed up by Glenwood and the western part of the county. But it's very diverse. It's a very, I went to the planning and zoning had a master plan they put together a few years ago. As you come out of the Les Hills and get past Glenwood and come into Malvern and you'll get some rolling hills that'll flatten out and get some bottom ground, the best use is ag. And it is all ag.
It's so rich.
It's all ag.
I just looked at a statistic about Mills County yesterday, and out of, I think it was 237,000 acres, 207,000 are ag land.
Sure, that's not. I mean, I haven't seen that statistic, but it makes sense, and it's God put the land the way it is, and it's rich, fertile soil. Its best use is agriculture, and whether you're row cropping corn or soybeans or grazing some of it.
And that's another funny thing about Southwest Iowa in general. I come from Missouri, where there's a lot of rock in the ground. So there's not. You get the further south you get,
35, 40 miles. You start that terrain different.
You start tearing the disc parts up if you get in there. But no, my point was going to be cattle and grazing, and Southwest Iowa is prime for pasture land as well. Yeah, we don't see a lot of it here, and I think that has to do with the market, the volatility in the market and the vet bills and the different things. When you're dealing with a live animal, things are a lot different. But the row crop, and even that can have its risks, as you know. But I always thought it was really interesting that there weren't more grazing cattle here.
Yeah, we used to have two major cattle operators in our neck of the woods, the Bruce family and the Phelps family. And then just through kind of succession in life and there's not cattle there anymore. And we used to feed her to finish 1,000 head of pigs, and Dan had a black Angus purebred, certified purebred Angus herd, and he misses it. I know he does.
Sure, yeah, that's something.
That old farmer mentality, not old as in a person age,
Oh
but
no,
like that old ingrained.
It's salt of the earth.
Yeah,
that
totally. And it's changed.
When
You're
you've
right.
been in it.
Yeah.
The smell of the hide, everything that goes on, the smell of the feed, the grinding of the feed, the cold early mornings.
Oh yeah, I was in the north bedroom of the farmhouse, and on the hill there we had the operation, the confinement. That's the word I'm looking for. And so that smell, I just grew up with it.
Yeah.
And so when I go to the Iowa State Fair every year, I try to go, and all the stories and everything are great, but it's just that the smells, the sounds, the sights, it's just
back to your roots.
Totally.
If the old pig farmers say that smells like money.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Most days. I mean, you talk about market conditions, inputs, outputs, profit. There's a lot to manage.
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny little story. I think it's a funny little story. I grew up on a 10-acre farm.
Okay.
Huge garden. We put up everything, but we had 2 milk cows.
Okay.
We had 2 hogs. We had chickens. We had goats.
Yeah. Pretty sustainable little operation.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
We milked goats, but those cows, we had a Guernsey and a Jersey. And
okay.
It's like an all-day job to milk a Jersey and a Guernsey, because they really produce.
Yeah.
So we milked them by hand in the morning, and we milked them in the evening, and we had ponds on the farm. There were no waterers with heaters, so in the winter we would take an axe, and my brothers and I would go to the pond, and the ice would be about this thick, and we'd just take turns swinging the ice, and swinging the axe on the ice. And so, although I have to qualify this with, I'm not old enough to have grown up that way, but I did. But totally. I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything, because it gave me that salt of the earth, that work ethic.
Totally.
That responsibility of taking care of a live animal.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
But so I can relate, but what a far-fetched story to hear in our day and age, But that would have been 80, 81, 82.
Okay.
In that era. So
yeah.
But I'm glad we did that. I'm glad my family did that.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we progress, right?
We do.
And so when you left real estate the last time, you got into some other things.
Yeah. So mainly that real estate mindset has always been there. But when the opportunity to raise some private equity came along, I jumped on. Well, I didn't jump on it. I had what entrepreneurs call a real job. Like when you're in entrepreneurship, you're in this whole different space and this whole different world where your family and friends and outsiders are like, oh, well, they don't have a real job.
Oh my God.
And it's difficult, it's tricky, because, if you're, struggling to eat or put gas in your car, your friends and family are concerned that you don't have the 1099 where you get a paycheck every 2 weeks, where there's a little more probably stability, is what people would say. Now with that said, I did a pros and cons list for like 3 or 4 months, and I was just like, I was just starting over from the '08 financial crisis. I had a 13th floor office. I had underground parking, an expense account, phone. Everything was taken care of. Things were taken off. I had the downtown Denver territory doing commercial title insurance. and it was clicking. It was starting to go, but it was still a difficult real estate market. I mean, real estate markets are cyclical.
Sure.
So when it's gangbusters and going like crazy, a lot of money can be made in transfers. But when it's slow, you're scrambling just to put pennies together. But with that said, my pros and cons list said you should take this risk and you should do this. So I did. I put a 2-week notice in, and I went and raised $1.2 million for a pre-revenue technology startup company. And so I did it in about 4 to 5 months. The first thing I did was study up on how do you do this? What is a private placement memorandum?
Right.
What is a subscription agreement? Now you fast forward, and there's been so many changes in private equity with respect to startups that have been more advantageous to a founder and their team and growing a company. But when I say back then, we're talking about 2010, 2011, 2012, that time frame. And then I made a list. I did with everything. Okay, who are we going to meet with? How are we going to introduce this? And then we let the meetings flow. And I flew the founder from Denver. I was living in Denver at the time, but I was always driven back to Iowa, and thinking, oh, we can have a second office here. We can grow and expand in the Midwest.
Right.
So that was how it started, and that capital fell quick. And it wasn't like I was this, driving down Wall Street and placing $100 million blocks. I mean, that's what private equity is.
Yeah.
But when you're pre-revenue technology startup, you're raising funds on an idea and how good that idea is. And then the investors are saying, well, can this team implement that? And what's going to happen? It's an 85 to 90% failure rate.
Well,
and
that's sales, Ben.
It is sales. Yeah, I'm to my own horn. I'm pretty decent at sales. I'm good at business development, and I'm good at sales.
Yeah.
But it was simple. My goal and my vision was just, okay, you put the founder and the software developer in a room with the potential investor, and then you shut up. You get out of their way, and you're like, okay, here's what's going on. And then I'd step in at the right time and say, okay, this is what we need to do by this date. This is what we need to do by that date. Are you interested? Are you not interested? There's a term called soft circling, where as you have your list of potentials, you soft circle, meaning there's an interest level, and you do just what everybody does in business development and sales. You have a funnel, and you go through the funnel, and you're in or out, and there's dates and hard stop times, and it's that's how it goes. And it was exciting. It was exhilarating. It was probably the best thing I could do for my career, because that took me in a path. We talk about the zig and the zag, where that company went on. They went through some adversity, some deep adversity, and then they rebranded and relaunched. And so in the middle of that time frame, I said, well, boy, if I could do this for one tech company, who else can I do it for? And so that's where I started MMI Consulting Group. We do business as Mentor Me Inc. That's just mentormeinc.com.
And you're still
going. Not, it's just me. It's just me, and whoever I kind of, do contracts with or business development agreements with along the way. Another resource is just my name, benwashburn.com. There's a blog on there, a little bit more about me. But it talks about kind of the stuff that I like to do. And it's really business development. And as I've navigated that, I've helped connect a lot of people together. And then as you make those connections, you look at ways to do business development together. And at a point, there's transactional volume, and then you know.
Didn't hurt to have your mom involved in the Chamber of Commerce.
She did great.
Much of the same thing. What is your mom's name?
Linda Washburn.
Linda Washburn. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you met Jitsi?
Jitsy's great. I've only met her. I met her at the firehouse, the fire station in Glenwood for a pancake breakfast.
Okay.
And so we're set to get we're like, nice to meet you, great
Yeah,
to meet you.
yeah.
She did a sit down with Linda, and that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's great.
And so we're set to get lunch or coffee.
Good.
We just haven't
Yeah.
done that yet.
Good. I
So
think we
yeah,
should do
she's great.
that,
She's
and
doing a great job.
She really is.
Yeah.
I just had a nice conversation
Yeah.
with her on the phone today. But you should, you should bring
Yeah.
some of your experience to in that manner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I know Jitsy's a very creative thinker and
Yeah.
open-minded.
She's doing great.
Young lady. So
Yeah.
that'd be great. So
Yeah.
anyway, so from MMI, let's talk about somewhere in here you wrote a book.
I did.
Startup, right?
I did. It was published June of 2014.
Okay.
And I set out to tell the story of placing that private equity so quick with freebie cards and now be rewarded. And what happened? How did I do it? What happened with the company? What were the good, the bad, the ugly? And two things really went on in my mindset, Carlene, was number one, get your story out there in 2014. And also try to put some professionalism behind it. You're not going to go out and get, a Simon and Schuster book deal on your first run. Most likely, that's not. You're not going to go to. You're not going to go to 1245 Avenue of Americas in New York.
Yeah.
Walk up the elevator and say, "Hey, I'm writing a book." They're going to say, "Good luck, kid."
Yeah.
So I was in the middle of this kind of self-publishing, looking for a publisher. I sat down and wrote the book in like 5 hours straight through. I just couldn't stop writing. I did probably 4 or 5 edits on it after publishing. Come to find out, it probably needed another couple edits. But it got out there. The title of the book is called The Vision of a Founder, A Journey in a Startup World. And it hit, after publishing, it hit top 25 on Amazon Books.
It's amazing.
In entrepreneurship books, still available in the subcategory of venture capital books.
Oh,
so
venture capital books.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have to stop you here and ask you.
Yeah.
Why don't I have a copy of this?
Yeah, I need to get you a copy. So my publisher is a great guy out of West Des Moines. It's Corn Publishing, and George is awesome. I just, when I set out to do the book, I wasn't like looking to sell. What I was thinking was, I want to get this story out there to help others that are like considering starting a business and considering how to enter the private equity, the friends and family that, you got friends and family round, then you've got a seed round, and then you go into your round A, B, C, D, and that's basically how the rounds go. And then you kind of blend it with like what's going on in California versus how Wall Street looks at revenue. And that's how people kind of grow. And then we're all situated in the flyover country of the Midwest, where there's beautiful things going on with tech, with venture capital, and with incubators, co-working spaces. So it's light years ahead of where it was when we were doing it in 2011 and 12. I'll tell you that. But we'll get you a copy. He does my copies, and then you can go on. You can Google it. If you Google The Vision of a Founder, A Journey in a Startup World, it'll come up on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. There's a Lake Forest, Illinois bookstore sells the hard copy.
Okay.
It's on my bucket list to go to Lake Forest and do a book signing.
I heard recently there's a resurgence in bookstores.
I think it's great. I did a book signing at the Malvern Library. I did a book signing at the Council Bluffs Library right across the street here. And I did a book signing at a bookstore in downtown Des Moines, was the first one. It was actually in the Equitable Building at 604 Locust Street.
Okay.
It's called The Bookstore.
Oh, wow.
One of the last downtown bookstores in Des Moines, I think. Beaverdale Books carries it, I think.
Okay.
I've got their consign. So then what happens as an author is you can do what's called a consignment.
Sure.
There's the Bookworm over at 90th and West Center. I've stopped in there.
Okay.
I've got a so you basically fill out your form and you're like, here's my book, but there's only so much real estate in a bookstore for them to carry it. And then what's natural is if you kind of head it off with the owner or whoever's running the bookstore, you're like, yeah, I'm available to do a book signing. The Omaha Library, there's a circulation department, so I've got everything. My checklist is done.
Yeah, okay.
I've just got to drop it in the mail for the Omaha Library. So, and I'm big into libraries. One of my favorite things to do is to go into the library and just see what's available. Whether I'm old school, I'm dating myself, but I've got one of those old Hondas with a CD player.
Oh, okay.
So I'll go in and check out some old CDs, and it's kind of
That's
it's one of my favorite things to
part
do.
in the library, the CDs.
Yeah,
'Cause that's
CDs and the books, and I'm the type of guy, Carlene, that I've got like 3 or 4 books going at a time, and I'm like jump from one to another. I don't know why. Sometimes it's hard for me to just sit down and read unless it's totally captured my attention.
right. I think they call it ADHD.
Well, I don't know. Maybe a little. Maybe a founder's mindset.
Yeah, there you go.
Or whatnot.
I claim that half jokingly. I claim that because I'm the same way. I'll have 3 or 4 projects going at the same time, and I think it's a superpower.
I do too.
I think the stigma that's over that, and some other things that have been categorized by those labels.
Totally.
I think they're superpowers that are untapped.
Well, it's whether you can get them done, you know. I mean, you know, to have this come full circle, you know, I wrote the book in Mills County. I started MMI in Mills County. I'm commuting from Mills County to go to Keller Williams every day.
Yeah.
I'm loving real estate. I've got a couple smaller contracts with MMI. One of them is actually a PACE financing company.
Sure.
And
tell me what that means.
So PACE is energy efficient financing. It's private financing. As an example, across from the CHI Center, the Marriott and that development, that Capital District, they used about $30 million in a PACE loan for private. Now, the thing with PACE is it has to go through the legislature to be approved and assessed. It gets a little in the weeds. When Nebraska passed it, the Nebraska Bankers Association did not like it. Now they love it. Iowa does not have it. It's one of a few states that doesn't allow it. So there's actually a bill at the Hill to try to get. It's in subcommittee now. Okay. It doesn't really have legs because of the Iowa Bankers Association, but all of those folks are talking right now to say, hey, would you like another developer's capital stack tool to help them develop? It's pro-economic development. Yeah. And we think in Iowa that it would follow suit with Nebraska and Minnesota to say your neighboring states have it. The bankers balked at it at first when it went through Nebraska. Now they love it. And now small community banks are PACE lenders. So that's the kind of communication which, as you know, as you're doing bills, that you've got to have those meetings and inroads. And to make it come full circle, you know, I do volunteer a lot. I'm heavily involved in volunteering for politics, and I mainly do it as just a volunteer type to get involved.
To what capacity? What do you?
Well, I would tell you that the biggest takeaway that I have and that I felt, and I truly believed in my core, is no matter what party you're in, you can be a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, is get involved. Yeah. Get involved in your party. Get behind a candidate. It is your civic duty to vote. To get out and vote, and whether you're door knocking, picking up the phone and doing canvassing. Now, I've taken it kind of to a different level because I've had some work lines that have kind of crossed over with personal volunteering lines, and it's been great. But to what capacity is, you know, I grew up in Mills County, which is like our little shoe hook is probably the reddest, most conservative district in America.
It is. Yeah,
it totally is. And there should be no apologies for it. There should be no shame in it. It's just where we grew up. Now, I started my career in downtown Des Moines, Iowa. I got elected to be the president of the Downtown Neighborhood Association. Went door knocking in an urban setting, which is a little hard because you've got to go through like the gates of the buildings to get to a door where there's a resident. But I did it. And, you know, it was 2 years. It was during 08, 07. We had a flood that year. My son was born that year. But it was awesome because we brought those neighbors together and we grew the association from like 60 people to 600.
Oh, that's great.
And all blue. not all blue, mainly blue. Very, very Democrat-led city. Connie Bozen's the mayor over there, dear friend. But what happened, Carlene, and that I want people to take away, is if you didn't agree with somebody, you grew up a Republican in Western Iowa, and you're talking to somebody across the table that's a supervisor from Polk County who's a staunch Democrat. You actually sat down and said, "Oh, well, we don't agree on everything, and we're from different parties, but I'd love to get to know you. Let's have a beer. Let's have dinner. Let's have coffee. Let's, whatever your cup of tea is." And you sat down face to face, eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly, and whatever the takeaway was, you connected with somebody that's a new friend.
Yes.
And that they might not be somebody you call up every week, but there's somebody that comes across your Facebook or they come across your Twitter or Instagram, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that encounter. I remember that coffee, that lunch, that dinner, and
not stark enemies with stark division. Yeah, and I wish we could get back to that.
I hope we do, and that's my main goal in political volunteering. And no matter what happens in my future, is bipartisan is one term that kind of gets a little wishy-washy, but there's videos out there of George Bush talking to Barack Obama. There's videos of George Bush calling Bill Clinton twice a year. And I know that's at a presidential political level that not everybody gets to, but it's still grassroots. It's still boards of supervisors. It's still your house, local senate.
Yeah. I think there's so much attention put on the presidential election that I don't think our kids are being taught how important it is for them to vote in their own community, in their own city, in their own county, in their own state. I think that they don't realize not just to vote there, but to follow the platforms of the politicians who decide who you're going to become a constituent of.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I think I'm glad you brought this up, because this is a very important point that I would like to see talked about more, and that's civic responsibility.
Totally. I believe it to my core, Carlene.
Yes.
And
when you say you volunteer, I'm going to challenge you here.
Yeah, let's do it.
What would you think about maybe being able to teach that to children, to young, maybe high school students, 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are getting ready to get them ready to take that responsibility, get them ready. You know what I mean?
Totally. Where my head goes on that question is, not only did I do the neighborhood association, I was on the Young Professionals Connection board in Des Moines. And it basically is through the Greater Des Moines Partnership, which is an umbrella of like 32 chambers of commerce. And there's young professionals groups all over the country. And it starts young. It's mainly focusing on professional development, civic, and social. And so when you're in your kind of 20s and 30s and getting going, what do you want to do? You want to make a name for yourself, you want to make a career, and you want to meet people. Love or money, that moves the world. And so that civic part, though, we would have people come in and speak and get involved. And so you can pretty much mirror that and just take that down to the level of high school and say, okay, it's not like teaching civics,
right?
But it is a little bit. It is a little bit, because you've got to have a platform that says, okay, now maybe your local chamber of commerce does it. Maybe your Association of Business and Industry, Nicole Crane, state of Iowa, they do great programming. But a lot of times, even through that we're seeing in the Iowa caucuses, which were last night, people, especially in business, don't necessarily want to take a side or take a position or take a candidate. They want to keep that close. And that's important right now, because in the last, call it 5 to 7, 10 years, people have been apprehensive about what they share on social media, how they talk, what they post, because they're it's just the polarization that's happened in recent years of like, well, if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, I don't know if I can work with you
Right.
based on views. And so
Wait a minute.
you got to,
Some people
you know,
are careful what they put on social media. Others are not.
yeah, well, you got to find a balance. I've always stood up for myself and tried to say what I feel and what I think, and there's got to be the freedom of speech and expression. But there's also got to be, you know, when you go into midterm elections, which we're in now, or a presidential year, especially through the Iowa caucuses,
Right.
it gets heated, and there's something that's called see and be seen, where, you know, that's important. It's not superficial. It's just we are naturally social human beings. So when you're out there in politics, you're gonna find somebody, a candidate that you like or dislike. And I think Republicans, Democrats, and Independents, we all vote to who the candidate we like the most, regardless of what party they're in. And we're all not that different. We're all pretty much middle of the road, right or left.
Yeah.
And it's that 2 to 3, 4, 5% on each side of the extreme party lines that kind of dictate the noise and the messaging sometimes.
I think.
And then we all in the middle get lost a little bit. And then it just like, and then people get burnt out. And then people say, I don't do politics. Well, take a step back. And my message would be this, as simple, is if you find somebody you don't agree with, just take a step back and say, oh, time out. We don't need to stop our communication right now. We don't need to not be friends. Let's talk through this moment. And I'm sure we don't agree on everything, but let's at least have a conversation and see where it goes, and leave amicable, and you know, not be so
that has to be
like
intentional.
this.
Yeah, it has to be intentional, because we've gotten to the point where we've had so much propaganda in our face and so much disinformation that we have become immediately reactive, and I'm guilty of it. I'll react that quick, and then I'll go.
What's natural instinct?
Right. And the other thing is, I think both sides on the extremes feel threatened. So we're all living in a defensive world, where we're in a defensive world, and the things that are going on are polarizing us. You know, the actual events that are taking place are definitely polarizing us. So I really appreciate you mentioning that, talking about that, because that coming together, our forefathers knew from the beginning. United we stand, divided we fall.
Well, you mentioned that, and I'll take the opportunity. A lot of people in Mills County know this, and we're very thankful, grateful for our family roots. But my great-great-grandfather in 1905, Albert Benjamin, and then Henry Warren in 1952 or 3, 51, 2 or 3, I should know this.
Okay.
They were both the state house representatives. I think they were in the House side and not the Senate side, but they went to Des Moines and represented Mills County at the state house. And so then you had the next generation. My grandfather Albert, he was big on the school board for Malvern and East Mills, and big in conservation and soil conservation. We're one of the first families to do terraces on our ground in Mills County. Big into terracing on our hill ground.
They probably knew my children's great-grandfather. Great-grandfather, who Ted Hall, who was he was on that board. That initial board that started terracing that ground.
Well, the answer is yes. If they were both in conservation in Mills County, of course they knew each other. I
don't know how broad his reach was, but he lived in Fremont County. So, but I'm sure, you know, they consult and get together and talk that over, and that's pretty amazing. So your family you're the second person that I've talked to since I started this a couple of weeks ago that family came to Mills County when Mills County was first developed. So Jan Zanders, I had interviewed Jan Zanders, and she and her husband have lineage back there that donated land.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, great
so
family.
they could build
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yes.
The history of Iowa is extremely incredible, and we're the youngest in Iowa because we're on the western part of the state, right? As it settled, most likely it came from east to west.
Sure.
And there's a Mitchell map of 1846. It's hanging in my office, and it's got neutral territory of the Indians, the Sioux and the Fox Indians on the western, the Potawatomis. The capital was in Iowa City as it was getting developed, and so being the youngest Iowans, right? It's interesting, but we're very fortunate over here, and I think it's great what you're doing with Mills County Roots, and I'm very thankful for this opportunity.
I'm so glad.
I'm glad that we. I saw a couple other folks that you interviewed, and it's great to be in this company. And I love Mills County. I love what's going on in Greater Omaha, and that's another thing I'll briefly touch on is that there are a certain amount of people in Omaha that do not drive past 480 and cross the Missouri River.
Right.
Now that line and that barrier is slowly crumbling a little bit, and Council Bluffs and Omaha are starting to work together. You talk about it with the streetcar, but it's not that big of a deal to cross the Missouri River.
It's not that big.
There's a lot going on, and I'd say that with real estate as well. Omaha's pretty locked down when you get west, when you get out into Elkhorn and Waterloo, and there's a water issue because you talk about ag, right? You have to go into irrigation when you get to the Platte and farther west. It's just how.
Oh, sure.
It's just how things work,
right.
And we can't control that. That's just how the topography of the land goes.
We don't see a lot of pivots.
And there's some development going to go north, and the Bennington's exploding. Just saw a presentation. They're building another high school with a bond in Bennington. But as you come east, you've got Council Bluffs and you've got Mills County. Right. Now, the boards of supervisors in Mills County and Potawatomi County are starting to get along, and I think it's great. We're sharing a road. There's the Google, the Bungie, all of that. The people are on Facebook talking about the construction and the dirt moving, and it is a zoo out there.
Yeah.
But you get all the way over to East Mills, and we read about this and we hear about it, and it's extremely rural. And it's just like, okay, at a certain point with economic development, you got to get along. You got to kiss the ring, and you got to pay respects.
Yes.
But you got to say, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What's going on? And let's get along and let's build a partnership. And what's interesting about the streetcar is you've got Carter Lake, Iowa, and you've got Omaha, and you've got Council Bluffs, and it's all starting to come together now. You drive through the construction of downtown Omaha right now. Oh my God, it's just a zoo. But I think it'll be worth it. Really, there's proponents of it, but it's here. It's not going anywhere. Now, politically, the election's completely shifted in Council Bluffs and in Omaha.
Yeah. Right.
But that's elections and what that happens.
Flow. I always
everything balances out.
Just like this.
It does.
Keep
checks and balances. Absolutely. Yeah.
We've seen it in the presidents and local politics as well. So and we always hope for the best.
Yeah, that's all you can do, and get involved. Volunteer.
Get involved. There you go. It's easy to sit back and point the finger and naysay anything.
Yeah.
Or even sit back and celebrate what's going on. But until you step into it and you get involved and do what needs to be done, then it's like you really don't have the luxury of making judgment.
Right.
In my opinion. That's my opinion. But I think, you've got to get involved. That's
for
the
me,
civic duty.
that's the civic duty. And for me, having volunteered or helped with phone banking or helped with door knocking or collected signatures, I've done all of that. And then you don't know where your path's going to go. You don't know what candidate you're going to meet, what photo, who's taking a selfie with who, and then you're posting it on social media, and it's great. I mean, people like to do that. I mean, it's just part of our culture and our DNA to snap a selfie or get an autograph, or that is just how it goes. But as you meet candidates that come through Iowa, you should take advantage of the caucus season.
Right.
You should take advantage of getting to know your party, and that would be another takeaway is go to their central committee. I'm on our central committee in Miles County, and go to some of those meetings and hear about the issues, get involved, and it matters. Your voice matters, and your civic duty to vote matters. But at the end of the day, it also matters what party you're in to make your voice heard. So what that means is, if you're a Democrat, go to your Democratic Party and get your address in, your email, your phone, and just be like, I'm here to serve. I'm here to help. And
Go to the town hall.
Yeah, and you never know who you're going to meet. And I'll tell you, the best thing that what I love about my life and how beautiful it's been is the people and friends that I've made on both sides of the aisle.
Yes.
I mean, I've got pictures with people from Des Moines with pictures with the Clintons, and they know each other. And on the flip side of that, I've got people that have pictures with the Trumps, and they know them. And it's just like, to me, I love that. Now, do I gravitate to one party or the other? Of course. But to be able to have those friendships now, when it's so polarized and it's so it's just not the way it was when I came up, is important, because I think there's going to be a shift. I think there's going to be a day that comes, and hopefully it's this midterm election cycle, that says, okay, we know you're not happy. We know you're happy. Let's sit down and let's make some stuff work, and let's put the people in the room and let's get it done. I mean, we're coming up on another threatened shutdown, a government shutdown, and we're going through a governor's race that's going to be hotly contested. The Republican Party of Iowa is going to be completely shook up from Congressional District 4 with a handful of candidates, and the governor's race with a handful of candidates, and they're just going through a primary. After the primary, everything starts over, and then you go to a general election.
It will be very interesting to see how it turns out.
Yeah, it certainly will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Iowa is a unique state when it comes to politics.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest political state in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. To keep the caucuses, I salute the Democrat Party for having a caucus last night.
Yes.
I think it's great. I think that, there's not many people or politicians that I don't like. I might not agree completely with certain issues, or I'll like any human, have my highly like this person and this 1, 2, and 3. Okay, that's just me.
It's not them as a person; it's their politics. It's their platform.
But when
whatever they stand for.
When Joe Biden said that they're not going to have the Democrat caucus in Iowa, that was a mistake, because of the history of the caucus in Iowa. And, both parties have their caucus now. It's kind of, I guess you would have to ask the powers that be in Des Moines that say, okay, where are we at in 2028? We know we're having the caucuses for the Republican side in 2028. And hopefully my friends in Des Moines can say, yes, Ben, we are also having the caucuses in Des Moines, and I think they will, and I think they should, because it'll be a big. I mean, I know that's 2 years away, and people are like, oh, let's just get to the midterms, give me a break, so I don't have to think about it, I don't have to talk about it. I want my let's talk about Facebook. Why can't the Facebook feed go back to like 10 years ago when it was just friends and babies and soccer soccer and basketball and football and like all this like fun-loving stuff instead of all these like ads, and it's just technology. You know, what do you do?
Sales.
Yeah, right. That's it. You're in sales too.
It all circles back, doesn't it?
You know, if I were to give one piece of advice for somebody, you know, going up through high school into college, look at the trades, the money to be made. I mean, there's some days in my entrepreneurial journey, there's some days where like 120 grand a year, 80 to 120 grand a year to be in the trades. Yeah. Sign me up. Right. I mean, that'd be an awesome paycheck. Right. Like I said, I wouldn't trade anything I've done. I've had a great path. That cloth, though. And not cut from that cloth. I would say to seriously look at it. We need that in our society. But also, if you're going into the college route, you're going to get that experience where you shadow people. Right. You have your mentorship, which is a foundation of MMI Consulting Group, and Mentor Me Inc. is business mentoring, that two-way, open, honest, transparent communication. But get into the business development, sales, marketing. Right. I mean, I'm biased because that's the path I took, and I love it. Because when I meet people, you know, usually a few things happen. It's like, oh, yeah, there's not many people that I've said, oh, I can't work with them. I'm like, how do I find a way to work with them? Yeah. How can I benefit them? How can I help them? How can I figure out where's the transaction going to happen? And then how do you put yourself in the middle of that? Yeah. And that's basically brokerage of connecting buyers and sellers. Right. Exactly. Then you have your industry, whether it's finance or real estate or private equity. And
if a person who goes into the trades is of entrepreneurial ilk, they'll end up with a business.
Right, exactly.
Right?
They'll be an
To
entrepreneur.
my son.
Yeah, exactly.
He was very much a hands-on craftsman. Yeah. And he went west and built a built and he was of that ilk. I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah. But he's doing that, so that'll happen if but having the foundation of that trade is it's very important. And honestly, we're at a place where we are in such dire need of trades that income is going to shift. It's already shifting. Yeah. Where if you are a tradesman, you're making more money than the guy sitting behind a desk somewhere 9 times out of 10 now. Right. Unless you're a high-level executive or 100% commission salesperson with a lot of talent. Right. Totally. So yeah, you touched on that. It's that 5 to 10% that really crush it in sales. Yeah, it really is. Right. Yeah. Well, Ben, it's been a pleasure to have you. It's been great, Carly. Thank you so much. Thank you. And as things develop in your life and as things go forward, hope you pick up that Iowa real estate license. And yes, I will. So I don't solicit. Rob my father pretty much handles everything in Iowa right now. Okay. And he likes that. I pretty much handle everything in Omaha. Yeah. I've just got to sit down. I've already sent my background check in. And I've got to sit down and take the test. It's a state test. We'll be watching for you in Mills County. All right, let's do it. Thank you so much. Yep. You've been watching Mills County Roots here with Ben Washburn of Mills County. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow.